treats.
Hey guys, this is the Raw Food Podcast. I am Raw Skye. This is JJ. We are here and going to talk about what happens when a raw vegan gets sick, and we are both raw vegan. It basically healed us, helped us, saved our life. Hey JJ,
Hey,
how are you?
I'm doing so good. Thank you for having me on. I love these weekly. I really enjoy our conversations, and I think we talk about such important topics that are not always discussed in our world.
Yeah, I think what goes on is, and like the same with Kiko and Miranda, anyone that I do these with, is that so much we're normalizing things. Like, as much as you can be raw, it doesn't mean that you don't have hiccups in your life. It doesn't mean that it just perfects everything. It doesn't mean that you're doing it wrong if you
Hmm.
get sick, right?
Exactly. Now, for the longest time, though, I remember the first time I did get a cold, it really threw me off because I thought I was never going to get sick again. Because, at least in my, in my experience, and same thing doesn't happen for everyone. That's another thing. There are a lot of similarities I've found between all of us when we talk.
Yes.
Like, we have a great, emotional and really a nice uplifting experience, most of us with it. But from time to time, maybe it takes one person longer to get those benefits. So it depends on the person. But for me, like, I used to get a really bad cold. Every year I would get like bronchial issues like every single winter, almost like clockwork, and I'd get really terrible allergies. So all of that cleared up when I became raw vegan. And so I thought, wow, I don't ever have to get a cold again. And then about four
Yeah.
years in, though, I didn't know what was happening. I remember we were laughing with me and Dawn because I was like, all these years it was like a normal thing to get a cold, and then I was like, wait, but I'm a raw vegan. And it's like, it doesn't matter, right? You can still get a cold, but I did heal, or get over it a lot quicker.
Sure. So I just want to take us back to when I was really sick. I was sick for 32 years. I've had over 60 surgeries. I had my stomach removed, had a full hysterectomy. When I was in my sickest hours, I wasn't raw foodist. I was doing basically what nutritionists or doctors said, trying to keep calories up, is I barely got sick. And the reason they say is when people get chronically sick, like really, really sick, apparently their immune system stops reacting. So when things come up, it doesn't react. So in 2018, when I first started to feel better after I'd lost my memory and I was doing a paleo diet, I actually constantly got these like flare ups and earaches and runny noses as if my immune system was turning back on. And then it seemed to plateau, and then I got shingles. And then I had 2 years which were bad with my health, with the functional neurological disorder. When I went raw, I would randomly get like, I don't know, like I like, well, essentially it was in the era of COVID. So I got COVID 4 times.
Oh.
And that was really, last week I had some sort of flu or virus. It could have been that again. But it was actually nice to feel my immune system turn on. You'd feel your body heat up, your nose would run. There's this like viral pattern where the first few days you constantly get sicker, your throat gets sorer, and then after that it would subside. And to me, it's just the body. Like, a lot of people talk about detox, and I do not like to focus on it too much because I like to focus on lifestyle and enjoying it and falling in love with the lifestyle. But from what I understand about a cold or a virus, is a virus, which is a cold, is the influenza, and the cold could be many viruses, but it doesn't attack healthy cells. So these viruses, which are very similar to RNA and DNA in the body, can already be dormant. We can catch them, it can increase the load, but they actually latch on to cells. And what they do is they go into a cell, and where the RNA and DNA is, they rewrite the DNA in that cell, and the cell explodes. And you've got multiple cells and multiple layers, like the mucus layer. You can feel it in your joints and you ache in your body. But essentially, this will not happen to a healthy cell. So in my experience, it's the body cleaning itself, right? It doesn't mean that there's no viruses. I'm quite grateful for viruses. They are very similar to DNA and RNA that we have in our body. And apparently they say that RNA and DNA in our body came from viruses. But I guess I'm just kind of explaining here what I personally believe happens is that the body it's part of the healing mechanism where we need to shed parts of ourselves and things that are going on and cleaning up. I mean, to not be sick for a long period of time when I was at my darkest hours, I think speaks volumes. So, yeah, that's like what I wanted to say on this. But I was also sick last week, guys. And it doesn't surprise me. I just didn't realize. So when I got sick, somebody I'm staying with also got sick. And before, when I've traveled, I always get this cold or virus, but I actually just thought it was my body kind of getting rid of. Somebody mentioned to me how much of radiation is in planes. It's like having 25 x-rays, chest x-rays, should I say,
Wow.
the trip that I took. So it doesn't surprise me that, this was 25 hours, but a lot of the trips are 8 hours that I've taken, even 3 hours. And I always thought that my body just did this, like, it just got rid of stuff because no one around me ever got sick. So it was a shock to see somebody else get the exact same thing as me. But I always feel like I go through so much emotion. And like there's just so much emotion. It's like this, almost like it coincides with that I've been really stressed with work, and I had this big trip, and then you just stop and you have a whole lot of stuff to deal with as well. So
Yeah, like I actually heard when I was in college, a lot of people would get sick right after finals, and you would think it would have been during like the intensity or the stressfulness, or you're on like high alert. It's almost like your body allows you to get through the travel or whatever it is you're doing, and then it almost like on the other side, it kind of sometimes the immune system, even if we're excited about something, it can still, on that way down, on that downtrend, the immune system might, create some type of. But one thing I wanted to say that like has changed in me is I feel like because I understand the body so much better, it doesn't scare me, I guess, quote unquote, as much. I realize it's the body trying to do something, it's trying to heal something, it's trying to help me. So those symptoms where I used to think, oh my goodness, I have to find out medicine to stop the cold from happening, now I'm like, okay, it's my body trying to get rid of the mucus. It's just a different way of like thinking about it. And sometimes we still have to, take medication depending on our, what's happening. But for me, I feel like it has taken a lot of the mystery out of what's going on in me. Like if something, my
yeah,
knees swelling, I'm like, oh, thanks. I always look at it, these little men. I always joke with Dawn, I'm like, the little men are coming to fix my knee. Like
yeah,
they're coming to the swelling site. And it's so interesting to start to work along with your body instead of thinking your body is working against you. And I think that's one of the really core underlying principles that has come about through this whole journey. And it didn't happen until like 2023 when I started looking at holistic, natural hygiene type of way of looking at things. Hi,
sure.
Sherry, and
Yeah, hey
Sprinkle of
everyone.
Whimsy. Thank you for joining.
Yeah. So I was just going to talk about what you mentioned about cortisol being high in students who are studying. And a lot of people go away on holidays who have worked extremely crazy hours. And when they get there and stop, they get a cold or a flu. And why that is when you're stressed, you have massive amounts of blood being pumped into your major organs. Okay.
Hmm.
So think you see someone quite pale who is stressed because their major organs are getting a lot of blood. Their skin is not getting any because your body's on alert and it says, this is flight or fight. We're going to give everything to these major organs.
Yes.
So you just keep going, and any system that needs it, because you're running on high energy, it just gets the blood straight away. But when everything calms down and you're burnt out, everything is almost deprived of blood when you start spreading blood back out into all the areas of the body again. And this is where viruses tend to take over. But also, I love what you're saying. And then after that they have a purpose. And when you see that and you don't sit in fear and you don't try and block it and you're like, oh, this is so horrible, because mindset is huge, is the more you talk to yourself in that this is horrible, I'm bad, I'm doing my diet wrong, I need to give myself, something to stop this, is, you're kind of setting yourself up and your future up to not be so great. So when I'm like you, I'm like, I'm grateful my body can do this. Obviously, in the past, it couldn't. It's cleaning itself. Like you said, the little men are in there and they're fixing everything up. And I just think, and I was talking to Kiko about this last night, the more you sit in, everything has duality in it, right? But it can be an effort in this day and age to see the positive. It's like, we fear the virus, we fear the flu, we change the diet, that's all bad, everyone's all, and so that becomes natural, and we're a very fear-driven world. But the more that you can look at something, and I mean everything, no matter how bad you think it is, if you can find a little bit of light, and it can be a little hard, right? But better things start happening in all areas of your life. If you let all the negative crumble in, you won't just be sick, you'll be stressed, you'll be depressed, other things will not be so great.
Yeah,
So
like I'm learning a lot. I just am recording a video, or recorded it. I have to edit it still, but I've learned so much about this even in the last couple of years about how stress and the way that you're thinking and your mental status like about things can have actual chemical reactions. Like I never realized that the cortisol, like you said, when it's high. So then, if you're sick and your cortisol is high and you're worried and you're in fear and you think, oh, what am I going to do? I've got this to do, that to do. We all go through that when we're busy. Like we start to stress when we feel like something's coming on. But also, knowing your body, there's that other hormone, I think. I'm going to probably pronounce it wrong, but like oxytocin, something like that, that actually reduces the cortisol, and can bring you back in balance. And that's just like laughing, like you said, feeling good. So while you feel like in this moment of stress, when I realize, okay, my body's trying to help me, it's trying to, heal me, I'm going to get through this. I'll just start making arrangement. I'm going to put this off, reschedule, like what you mentioned, the other week a couple of times. I think we've ran into things where it's like, we just have to reschedule, and get things, get yourself relaxed and put something funny on, maybe even. I feel
yeah,
like that helps because we can, and it's nothing we're doing wrong, like the diet is actually one of the beautiful things that is keeping us, for the most part, keeping us in balance and keeping us well. And I love what you said about don't always think that it's something to do, because if you look for something bad in it, especially if you're new with the raw vegan diet and something, you might get a cold, it's okay. Like, that's not cause to run in most cases.
that's right. And I think, and I can go into what I did when I was sick, what I've done in the past, but even something like zinc is great, but zinc is great and vitamin C is great. And we need B12 and we need iron. We need that oxygen running around our body. We need it all. We want to know that we've looked after ourselves. And to say at any time, I've mentioned this before, I've hyper focused on something in the raw food diet. Like I'm like, it's all greens, it's all fat, or it's all sugar.
Yeah,
Is,
I've
or
done
you
that
know, it's all,
too.
I need just zinc, is you forget everything else. And there's so much to us that I find any way that any person can sit in balance most of the time. Your life always sits in balance as well. And all these things are great. Like if you're having this craving for, high iron foods or high zinc foods, is you should be so grateful that your body is so in tune that it knows what it needs. So I think that's like something that's really important. And also I have found, and I say this often on this raw food diet, is if somebody told me I had to do raw a particular way, I would still not be a raw vegan. The only reason I'm still a raw foodist, it's not easy in this world when you're around different people and different cravings and you've had different paths, is because I follow what my body needs at different times.
Hmm.
But this time I was sick, I went fresh straight away. So I
Hmm.
stopped. I hadn't been, I'd been in New York. I hadn't had that much of the high omega-3 diet like I'd been having with the chia and flax and cruciferous. But I didn't have any nuts, didn't have any seeds, didn't have any spice. I would have a little bit of salt, I think, the first couple of days just on the salad, but mostly fruit. Then I switched over to juice for 2 to 3 days. And then it was almost that the juice was making me sick. And as I added food back, I got stronger. But a lot of that time when I was sick, just like I remember when I was trying to heal myself, anytime I put anything denser in, it was like I couldn't get up. My body was like, I'm too busy sorting out this mess. Stop putting heavy foods in. Not heavy, but like, nuts or seeds or a bit of spice or something. Dried spice I'm talking about. So, but in the past it's been different. So, yeah, what about you? What do you do when you get sick? Like when you have a bit of a cold or flu flare up?
Yeah, so I feel like I've done at one point, I think early on, I remember thinking, comfort. Like that's the first thing when you get sick. Like I hadn't had a cold, like I said, in like 4 or 5 years when I first, got into this. So I just thought, well, those are things that other people that aren't raw vegans get, right? And then I was rudely awakened with that. So all of a sudden, one day I was like sneezing, and I'm like, what's happening? Like I must have came through the window. I don't get sick. And I kept telling Dawn I don't get sick. And she's looking at me like my eyes are watering and I'm sneezing. And I'm
And you're
like,
like, I'm
am
not
I
sick.
sick? Like,
I like that.
then I went straight into like, okay, this is just my body trying to get rid of something, and then of course my brain went to, what did I eat? Did I eat something that I don't normally eat? And, we go down that cycle. And then it was the person that delivered the groceries must have had a cold I came up with, right? So who knows? But the thing that I did the first time was I immediately went to like comfort type foods. Like you said, I wanted denser foods. I was just really, really hungry. And the second time I experienced something like this, I immediately did like grapes. I did a lot of fresh food. And I feel like that actually, while that comfort might have served its purpose there for a moment, I healed even faster
Yeah.
with the fresh food. So if you look at it as medicine in almost a sense, right? Like that was my thing. I was like, okay, yeah, anytime I start to not feel good, I go with like lemon and ginger water, try to really stay hydrated, just like really we do um in our previous life or whatever you would call it before we
Yeah.
became into like really paying attention to our health and wellness. But there's a lot of truths in those myths we hear, right? Like make sure you hydrate. I still think all of that is true. I just think I feel more connected on a deeper level with my body where I feel like I kind of understand what it's doing and that it's not something that is here to inconvenience me. It's actually helping me through it, and I just have to kind of deal with the human side of it where yeah, I can't go maybe jump online and do a podcast right this minute. I might need to take it easy, and I think sometimes our body tells us when we need to relax and we need to rest.
Yeah.
I think like animals in nature, they just know it. Like, my cats take a nap like every 5 minutes. They don't mind taking a minute for themselves, right?
Yes.
But for me, I'm go, 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 go all the time. So I've done a lot better with that too, just when you're not even when you're sick, but trying to remember to take those moments to get some sunlight and relax. And, while you're working hard on your passion, like you and me are the same. What we do, I do work at my regular job, but like doing this doesn't feel like work.
Mm.
It feels like a passion. Like I love putting stuff out and creating content and writing and things that can help animals and help people with their health. So it's like sometimes we go too hard, and I think the body also says, hey, skirt, hold on, slow
Yeah.
down, JJ. And like you said, you were doing a lot of traveling, so I'm sure that had you on like heightened in an excited way.
Oh,
I
for
think our
sure.
cortisol and dopamine and all that stuff can go off balance. Remind me also, you said something about balance, and I love that because I've been through that too, where I'll think, that's it. That's the answer to it all. I needed to eat,
Yeah.
90% fat in my diet, or I needed to eat only fruit, and I needed
Yeah.
this and that and this and that. And that works for some people, but each person finds their way to raw vegan. I feel like,
Yeah.
and I sometimes settle into high raw vegan because I don't, sometimes it might be something I'm eating, like I've said before, is not a nut or seed might not be fully raw and things like that. But sometimes I think that helps mentally me keep from getting sick, because I also don't want to deprive myself in certain cases. But what that one we did about standards, I won't eat anything that's meat and dairy, and I won't, for the most part, I try not to eat anything too, processed for at least a long period of time. But other than that, I like to keep it fruits, vegetables, nuts, and seeds, because we also need to do this in real life, and if we're trying so hard to do the perfect diet, like I can't have this grape because it's not seeded or something like that, all of a sudden you start to stress your mind, and that can also bring on sickness.
Not just that, but when somebody sees a grape, a fresh grape, and someone's eating a grape, that's incredible. Like, that's fruit, that's nutrients. Look at that person and they say something negative. Those people don't just say something negative then, is watch the next person who has something and they'll be like, oh, that's cooked. Or, and the more, once again, bringing it back to positivity, is because you're not just saying it in that isolated moment. You would have issues and blocks throughout your whole life, because who cares, that person's having nutrients. I think that's like really important. But earlier you was talking about comfort food, and this is why I wanted to bring up there is this spiritual and mental aspect to a flu or a virus, because the first 3 or 4 times that I got like the cold or flu or COVID or whatever it is that I got, when I got raw, or I was fine having, like, mostly it was like fruit in the morning, then maybe 2 salads at that stage at the very start. And all of a sudden, I would literally wake up and want raw vegan comfort food or think of vegan comfort food. And on that journey, at those points, that had not come up. And that's why there's so much to this like cleaning aspect of the body. And at that time, it's like, I want to stay raw. I don't think I really knew that fruits, or even read that fruits could benefit you. I, at that stage, would always, and I still do, go with what my body required of me. But now it's here nor there whether it's comfort food or not, I think, when you've been doing it a long time. But it's just part of the journey. And we've spoken a lot about colds and flus here, but remember I broke my foot at the start of the year, and that was a whole lot of mental turmoil for me. More, well, the
Mm.
pain was pretty bad because I was displacing it, but I've had a whole mental battle to go through in that aspect, where I was back at home because my bathroom was being done. So remember, I spent 15 years nonstop
Yeah.
in a bed. So I'm back in home, I'm on painkillers for a few days, can't move. All my exercise, all my dopamine just stopped. Like, I was
Hmm.
doing like 2 sessions of exercise a day, and I went back to coffee. And to me, that whole part, I mean, it was only for a week, but that whole part of the journey, it doesn't really symbolize, or I think about the break as much as I think about what are some lessons I had to learn. I think I needed to slow down sooner. I think I was doing too much, but also I think I had to revisit part of my life, even including coffee, right? And see that just did not serve me. But even then, back then, I remember trying to do just grapes or just fruit. My body was like held. In fact, that was the period where I craved, and I haven't done much since, a lot of the hemp protein powder and the peanut protein powder, a lot of amino acids, so
Hmm.
maybe for bone repair, right?
I
Um,
think I even asked the little helper thing on our
uh,
phones, like, why am I craving peanut butter now? Like all of a sudden
yeah,
when I'm sick, it's like, and it does
rebuild.
have a lot to do with, I think, comfort food, drifting back to that time. But that must have been really hard for you back to your, because it brought back
Oh,
those.
that was a lot. Like, that part of the year, that was like definitely that was really hard. But I just, when I think of going through these, how much it mentally takes me back, not necessarily to my sickest days, but even to when you're a child and
Mhm.
you were sick, you can feel like that again. And I just think this is such a long journey. It's like, if your body at the time wants a bit of raw vegan comfort food, you can try it. If it doesn't work, you can move on. But I was also saying that, my body craving those powders for that period is, if you have a broken bone is going to be built with amino acids, right? You're going to get a lot of repair in the body, especially a toe is an extremity as well. So maybe for that period, my body just is like, come on, can you boot this up a bit? Because you've got
Yeah.
something broken. But then it kind of like randomly, I'll have some extra if I crave it, usually after I've been training a lot. I'll randomly crave it, but most of the time I have not wanted it since. So we learn a lot, about ourselves, our body, and I just have so much appreciation, like what our body does for us, right? Is
Yeah.
toxins, poisons, things that don't serve it come in, and it finds a way to get rid of it. Yet we learnt from a young age that we want to suppress that. That's a bad thing. We're useless. It's like, no, hell, our body's doing something really good for us.
Yes, exactly. And I think each time that something happens, any learning experience like what you went through, you probably came out 10 times stronger. And the more we do this and the more you stick to your health journey, the more you learn and understand that something you might have thought as an absolute truth, 3 years before, how you wanted to eat, or the things, it can change, like, and it can change how you like deal with things emotionally. It's like
100%.
it feels like, to me, I see you like stronger and stronger, because I love that each time you come out of something, you share it with us and tell us what you were going through, and that helps everybody else, like now that we're talking about this, that might feel like, oh, I've been raw, and maybe I did get some kind of cold or feel something coming on. It's like, really, that is, like you said, it's a good thing. It means your body's doing what it's supposed to. And when I shifted that, like, that was such a big thing. Even if my body is hurt, I thought about like a cut can heal, bones, all over these things, if we just give it time and the space that it needs. Just like
Yeah.
our journey is going to be different if there's something major that you're trying to overcome, or maybe you did this because you have joint pain, or something, and you heard, well, if I eat these raw foods, sometimes it doesn't happen right away. But I found, for me, so many things have improved, that it motivates me to continue to want to take this. But it's not like a quick pill or a fix, like, it
Yeah.
changes right away, but it does. Like, for me, it changed really quickly. And then I've heard other people say, it took them, and it takes a while to find your groove with it and your confidence, and the fact that you are eating differently than everyone else. That's why I think it's so important that we keep our, mentally, we keep ourselves happy, and we make sure, like you said, we're only bringing in positive vibes. And it really, takes a lot of courage and energy, because sometimes, even though you're seeing the world from a happier place in most cases, especially when I went vegan, I'm also seeing like, oh, it just feels like the world's being destructive, right? Like, and so
Yeah.
you have to really gather yourself, and then you see like other people that are not eating like you around you, and that can get, it just depends, the mindset that you have going into it. Like, hey, I'm doing something really good for my body. I'm giving myself self love. I'm taking those moments, getting the sunlight, getting the whole picture of it, and not just focusing on one part of it, because diet, I've noticed, is just one real small part of this lifestyle.
Yeah. And I mean, people have to remember the pleasure aspect to why they stay or why they leave. So the reason most people come is because they want to get rid of the knee pain, or the migraines, or the autoimmune disease, which has a pain aspect. But if the diet becomes more so uncomfortable that it's a new pain, is you will always default back. And that's why when you get a virus or a cold, it's great to say, I'm going to juice for a week, or I'm going to eat just watermelon for a week. But if that becomes a pain in your life, and the pain that you're trying to heal does not lower enough, and your body isn't getting this like massive percentage jump of feeling better, is you will always default back to where you had some pleasure, even if that was
Mhm.
meals. Okay, because meals can have, cooked meal, whatever you're having before, can have so much pleasure in them that the pain that was in your body did not seem so bad. And that's why people essentially default. So that's why, whether you're going through the comfort meal stage, that's raw food, it's still raw food, it's still nutrients. You like to fast, you like just water, you like melon, or you do fruit, or you do your normal diet, is you want to never let yourself get into a place of too much pain around food. because it's the brain's job for you not to feel pain, whether that's around a meal or whether that's in your leg. So it's just something to be mindful of whenever you're treating something. It's like for me, it was, it's psychology, but also at the same time, it was like me facing my own demon. What is the reason that in the past with some diets that I go on do have more benefits? Why do I go back to foods? It's because that are even worse. It's because the diet was uncomfortable and not very nice and didn't give me enough benefit. So you've got to be the judge. You've got to be. This is the whole thing about this, is you are now your sole carer. You've now decided to make decisions above what you've been taught at school, or your parents taught you, or some sort of college taught you. Is you get to look after yourself now, and there's all those tools out there, and sometimes people choose to bring a little bit of it in for support or whatever. But when you take your healing journey into your own hands, you get to be the driver of the ship. And I think that's really important as you go through, whether it's a break or whether it's a cold, or, a lot of people, especially around going through perimenopause, but more when they start to get into menopause, seem to have, like me, mast cell activation syndrome, and also reoccurring shingles seems to be something that goes on as well. And I will say, for any disease that you get, and these aren't just these ones, but stress, you really want to find a way for your body to have lower levels of stress. I'm not saying that's the full picture for everybody, but if you have the diet right, you're doing like breath work and yoga, and you think trying to sleep as much as you can, but your daily stress level is really high, especially as you go through changes in life, or even, your body's, wanting more relaxation time, but you're winding it up, is that stress aspect. As we're saying here, students stress themselves to the max, then stop, and then just burn out. Or people plan holidays and they've been so busy at work that when they get to the holiday and stop, they seem to get some sort of cold or virus. So
yeah, it's interesting that it just, sometimes we want to be so perfect that in itself can stress us, right? Like, if you're getting ready to go outside and get some sunlight and something happens at work, and then you're trying to go out and get the sunlight, then, like, you just have to be careful to keep it all in balance and be flexible
yeah,
with yourself and your life and what you're eating, and making sure you're enjoying the process. I think that's the biggest thing. I think that in itself can keep us well in a lot of cases.
sure. I just want to bring this up. This is a great topic here that Sprinkle of Whimsy said. Do either of you use protein powder? I've heard protein is very important, especially for hormones. I've been vegan for 13 years and kind of ignored the importance. So this is my interpretation of this. The reason protein seems so important in a standard diet, like if you're eating a lot of cooked food, is especially with hormones, is that blood sugar issues or blood sugar changes stress the body. And when you're going through menopause, and there's all sorts of problems with hormone changes and blood sugar. And when you have higher protein diet, usually somebody doesn't have as much sugar and fat. They usually lower their fat intake, increase their protein, have more of a moderate carbohydrate diet, and keep themselves in balance that way. What I noticed on a raw food diet is it feels like, because I have no stomach, it feels like what you eat is so readily absorbed and readily available that the amino acids in the very fresh food seem to just assimilate. Like that, and the thing I notice when I don't have protein powders per se, but I've had hemp protein and peanut protein and cashew protein, which is the nut that's been defatted and blend and ground up. And that's all that's in it. The thing I notice about when I put it in my system is the pull or the drag or the slowdown in the system is massive. I would rather have fresh foods and movement and get my muscles moving and building in that way. I move a lot more than most people my age because of that. I think when you have denser foods, that can be a problem. But I will say, when it comes to what people believe protein does, I believe a huge aspect of that is because it stops a lot of people eating huge amounts of fat. And then if you have sugar, there's problems. And if hormones are involved, that's a problem. And I just think that when you eat a raw food diet, just only raw foods, you do notice things that build muscle more or don't build muscle more. But I don't necessarily want to bulk up. I feel like I do really well. Every time I add it, the next day I do know, next few days I do notice that I have more tone around my stomach, but I also have almost more dehydration on the skin, because it's huge stress on the kidneys. It's,
Hmm.
to flush through amino acids. So, and I mean, people who get like foamy urine have usually got too much amino acids going through their body. So, yeah, that's totally my interpretation from, and there's no study that I'm quoting here, but from where I see is when people do high protein diets, they're really not having huge amounts of sugar and they're not having huge amounts of fat. They've really kept, during their hormonal change, a balance. But in my experience, for me, it hasn't really affected me because my body seems so efficient on fresh foods.
Hmm. I definitely don't have a lot of experience with protein powder. I've never even used it, but I do find that as I've gotten into my mid 40s, that I do feel better with like a little bit higher of a balance, but not overdoing it, of nuts, seeds, beans, bean sprouts, even things like that, because and I'm not sure exactly what the reasoning is. I just know that I used to keep my things very minimal, and I think you and me kind of eat the same. Like, I just eat
Mm.
something, and if I feel better or I'm craving it, I just eat more of it at certain points in time. So I do feel like I've like probably in the last year or so eaten more of, like, cashews or walnuts is a big thing. I love walnuts, and I don't know that, like, I guess are avocados higher in protein? I don't know. I do
No,
eat.
the average avocado has only 4 grams of protein. So, like,
Yeah, and
that's like
greens, right? Greens
300.
have it in it, so.
Yeah, greens have it, and it seems readily available. So it's like a huge avocado kind of only has about 4 grams of protein. A tablespoon, 2 tablespoons of peanut butter, which is a smaller volume, but I still think it's quite dense in fat. I can't quote the fat offhand, but is about 7 to 9 grams of protein. So the nuts and seeds have more protein than something
Mhm.
like avocado. But then compared to most fruits, 4 grams seems a lot. But calorie density, it's not really a bang for its buck. But as you're saying, is the sprouts, I'll just soak lentils and eat them. I don't
Mhm.
find that's a drag on my system versus like these protein powders. But then my body can say randomly, I just want to shake with some hemp and some amino acids, which I bought, which I just don't use. I just don't like the feeling of, it's just so much. I don't feel great. And then I will feel very heavy, but I just have to trust that my body knows what it's doing. I don't
Mhm.
go, you're bad, you're wrong, you shouldn't have put those things in your body. I'm like, my body doesn't ask for this often.
Yeah.
Very rare. It will want like what I would call like a nutrient smoothie, where it's like, can you just put maca root powder, which a lot of people find benefits from, and ashwagandha, and put uh, L-theanine, and put L-glutamine, all these amino acids in, and then put some hemp protein, and like randomly it'll want something like that. But then afterwards, it's like, I'm not eating the rest of the day. I feel slow, but like obviously my body knows what it's doing. We've got to trust in the body a
Yes.
bit sometimes.
Definitely. And like sometimes it is easier to eat something that's denser in that concentrated amounts than to eat a higher amount of, maybe you're, continuing to crave greens because they have amino acids of protein. But like sometimes it's like that quick fix our body, that one we did on cravings was really interesting, where we really, delved into that. What is our body really asking for when we're, craving something higher in protein? Sometimes it might just be because we're trying to get it quickly, and we didn't maybe eat all day. So sometimes that's when, like, I'll be like, do I want, like, something really, like, satisfying? Like, I guess the word is maybe like avocados or something. I find if I like forget or don't eat, for the whole day, and sometimes I'll just need a quick bit of calories. I think our brain automatically knows that we haven't had enough calories or whatever we normally have in our system. So I think it is all about just
Mm.
listening to your body, and like you said, not being so regimented of the exact percentages that you're eating, because the counting macros and calories was one of the things I really did not like about other diets I had tried, and that's why this one has worked for me and kept most of my weight off for the most part, except for as little fluctuations here and there as
Yeah.
my hormonal changes and things. But I feel like it's one of the things that we can highlight that is a good thing, is that once we clear out of a lot of our previous diet, I was able to eat until I was full, and really and really feel good after it. And that's one of the things I love. So whenever I've played with those percentages and like, oh wait, maybe I'm supposed to have, like, 90% only fruit, and maybe then it's like I'm not supposed to have any lettuce, and playing with it like that kind of got me back into a place where I wasn't loving the diet. And
Mm.
then when I went back to the original way that I was eating, like with the fruit and big salads, it just seemed to like come back into play that maybe I had it right when I didn't know anything.
Yeah, I think we have, from such a young age, we're confronted by that we have this, we're supposed to control everything by studies, and we're supposed to see it online, and our body has no sense of knowing what it's supposed to do. Like everything we learn is taught at school from our parents. If there's a little bump, we have to go to a doctor, and this is all about trusting in the body again. And sometimes the body doesn't want big volumes, like I don't have a stomach, for gut health. Like when if you can get like 700 or close to 700 calories from a cup of walnuts. I think it's 680 or something. And but to get that from like peaches, I mean, you've got to eat a lot of peaches,
Yeah.
or something
Scale them.
else. And my gut really suffered when I was trying to do something which I thought was the right way, which was, do the fruitarian type thing. Whereas, some days I do all fruit,
Mhm.
and then I usually
Me
go
too.
back to, I am more, what's interesting is when you see what a really healthy diet is, or they talk about the Mediterranean diet, and they talk about, greens, and they talk about berries, and they talk about dark chocolate, and they talk about, well, that's usually it's berries and greens. I know they talk about fish as well, but when they lay all this out, everything except for the fish is basically what I do that's raw.
Mhm.
That is more my day to day. I actually don't have a lot of chocolate. I don't know whether it agrees with me now and again, but it's, yeah, for me, it's, I just like veggies, I like fruit, I like greens, I like predominantly omega-3s, and I like not stressing my gut out anymore. I'm constantly monitoring if I get a little bit bloated, something's going on. I cannot put food in. I can't. And people are like, my stomach's gotten huge. It's like, at what point did you not notice it was getting huge? I know sometimes you can get distension that just comes on really quickly, but I did that to myself. Whereas I just wake up in the morning, was still swollen. I just kept putting food in. I'm like, I don't
Mhm.
know how the stomach, it's not going through. So yeah, I think it's so important that we trust in ourselves, and yes, get lots of advice, not listen lots online, but if it doesn't sit with you, or you try it and it doesn't feel good, don't force it.
Mhm. Completely agree. Definitely don't. It's good to like take all that stuff into consideration. But I think, you will find a way to know what to eat, in a sense. Like, as long as I feel like having this broad umbrella of fresh, whole fruits, vegetables, nuts, and seeds has been the best thing that I could do for myself when it comes to what to eat and what not to eat. And like you said, I like that question you asked on your group. Congratulations, by the way, for 5,000. I
Thank
saw that.
you.
And your question was like, have you ever, I forget how you worded it, but we were talking about like I had to
Oh, the
learn to eat
overeating.
until I was about like 80%, like I'm getting there full, and then I'll stop, and
Yes.
then I'll wait a little bit, and then I'll eat a little bit more. And I think that just comes from, and we were talking about this. I was talking with Miss Cheryl about it. I don't know if she's able to watch this, or she might be catching the replay, but we were talking about, like, because you're taught as a kid, like, eat everything on your plate, and like those type of things that come from our past, like even conditioning, I guess we would say. But yeah, like when I first started, especially with fruit, I would definitely feel like I would just eat so much, and be like almost tired after it. And I'm like, that's not the point. That wasn't happening before. But as I started like getting in my head, oh, they said I should have 6 oranges because I'm a woman of this
Yes.
weight. And then I'm like stuffing myself with oranges. And it's like, no, I would have been fine at 2. And then maybe having something more heavy in after my second meal, you know? So
Yeah, it really, I think I did the same thing. Is for some reason, and somebody said to me, there's like lots, I think under this, one of the biggest mistakes I've made on my gut health journey was overeating. Who can
yes,
relate?
that was it.
Yeah, and some people underneath are like, there's a lot of influencers online who celebrate the most calories, the more calories they could get in. And I would think I was influenced by that. And that's not anybody's fault online. That's me. I have to work on myself. That what works for me. I have 7 major organs removed, and I work best with less. Like the
Mhm.
more I can live my day and not think about food, I'm obviously giving my body what it needs. Give it a little, do a little. Give it a little, do a little. That's kind of where I'm at now, instead of being like, got to get it in, got to get it in, more calories in, got to get it in, got to get it in. And then
Mhm.
I just ended up in a place where I had gut issues. I was putting on weight. I didn't feel good about myself. I felt sluggish. I was tired. And I had to go on the gut healing journey. And I guess we all should do it at some type, but some stage. But it should feel like you should feel satisfied, not be worried about getting in calories. Your body will tell you what you need.
So true. I definitely agree. I like I think it's one of the like great things about the way that I've kind of settled into this diet is I actually get excited like a little while before each meal, but like not to a point where it's like my whole day is wondering what I'm going to eat and how much am I going to eat. It's just so nice to be. And I did a post on that. I don't know if we talked about it last week. That I literally almost eat the exact same thing every day, but it's almost de stresses me to know what I'm going to
Oh,
eat. I enjoy it. I like it, you know, and I switch up the way that I do it. Some like right now I'm on this like taco vibe, this taco salad type, you know, vibe. And I had like a little bit of the seasoning. I can't think of the name of it now, but it reminds me of tacos, like cumin or whatever it is. I threw some of that
oh.
on my salad with, you know, and a little bit of the balsamic. It's like sometimes I can spruce it up without even having to go overboard or trying to even make something different. If you're having a little bit of a vibe where you want a different type of taste, um, and I just love that you give people all of the options, like, you know, and don't have it regimented as to one way that we can do this, because I think we all find a different way. And there are people who eat just, you know, fruit all day and they feel really good with it. And if that's you, that's wonderful, because that's how you found a way to be healthy and to do that. And then I think I don't know if it has to do with hormones or what, but I've definitely found that the way that I settle into is to have that balance and have like salads in the evening. For me, sort of a lot of stuff is fruit that I'm putting in it, I guess, like cucumbers and things. But you know that tends to work for me at where I'm at in my age, and I think that makes a difference too. Because maybe like 4 years ago, I think I was eating a lot more fruit as like my whole plan, and that could return that way. Who knows what's going to happen with 70-year-old JJ? But right now, this is where I'm happy, and I think if you look at it as an adventure to find the way that you like
Adventure.
doing this, instead of I have to do this, I have to eat this, like our whole lives are, you know, like meant to be something that we enjoy, in my opinion. So if you're not enjoying your diet, there's just a different tweak that you need to make to it, not give up on the whole thing. I don't
Yes,
think it's wrong to be healthy.
that's right. Don't throw the baby out with the bath water. Like, just because one part of it doesn't work, you don't throw the whole, thing out.
I always
You
wonder where that came from. Like, did
I
someone
don't
really
know.
throw their baby out with the bathwater?
No, well, I don't know, but it makes sense.
I'm
It's like,
just kidding.
if the bath water is broken, is
Yes,
the problem. You don't throw the baby that's in there and the whole bath out. Like,
exactly,
you just
right?
throw the bath water out when it gets a bit dirty. You don't throw
Yeah,
everything out. It's like, if there's something that's not working for you, that's a bit dirty, you throw that out. You don't throw the whole thing out.
I love
Um,
that saying.
Yeah, so you know, and I love that we get to this point again where it's like you do what works for you, what feels good for you. That can feel good at doing it differently at different times. And you know, I know vitamin C can be really good for especially like colds and flus. And I have sometimes had them where I've had a lot, and then as we said, other times we've done it differently. But there's other things besides the flu, you know, like as in your mental health, you may be
Mhm.
working on gut health, you may be going through menopause. Don't throw the baby out with the bathwater. You know, don't be like, well, because I've got a cold, now I've just got to eat grapes, and then you ignore your gut health and your hormone health and your
Yes.
mental health. And we want to just keep it all in balance. Like I feel like, and I just feel on this journey, and I don't know whether people see it on my journey, but you have no idea how it's not that what the yes, the raw foods was amazing, but it's that I work on myself every single day that I've got to this point. There's never been great jumps. Of course, there's great challenges sometimes that come up, but it's like every day. The only reason I've gotten this far is because of what I do every single day, which is just work on myself. And it's just those, it's like I always say, it's like be the tortoise, not the hare. Like it's the
Mhm.
slow, it's the steady, it's that I wanted to run, I learned to walk again kilometers until I could run again, and then it became something I could do every day, but it didn't just wake up and do it, and I didn't
Yeah.
force myself. Like you just, all these things come because you take the baby steps. So whether it's a cold, a flu, a broken toe, a you know, a autoimmune disease or whatever you're trying to heal, is just keep working on yourself every day and you'll end up exactly where you're supposed to end up.
Yes. Keep putting in those fresh, raw, foods,
Yes.
as many as you can, and take in as much nature and sunlight, I think is another thing we've came up
Yes.
with. And I do eat a lot of, now that I think about it, I usually have some kind of vitamin C, or like that, every single day. And it's a lot of vitamin C in our diet naturally,
Yes, there is.
fruits and vegetables. So that could be a reason why, many people have said they don't really take on as many colds and illnesses. But when it comes up, your body is ready to go. It's equipped for it,
That's
right?
right. We're doing the best we can. So,
Yes.
yeah, thank you
This has
everybody
been
for
so fun.
joining. Yeah.
Doesn't everyone, don't you love that color on Skye? Like, I think she looks great. And
Oh.
I'm not saying that it's my favorite color.
You're not biased just because it's green.
I love that
No.
color green. I want a shirt like that.
Yeah, it's from
Uh,
Zara. I don't know, but it's from Zara Australia. So I don't
ah,
know. Maybe they have it out there. I'm not
I
sure.
don't know. I don't think
All
so, but I'll
right.
find one similar. I
Well, I will
need
be
a
back
Zara
to.
look.
Sorry?
I need a Zara. What do you call it? Similar there. Is it a store?
It's a store. Yeah, it's a
Okay,
store called Zara. It's
cool.
not that expensive and it has some nice things in it. So
I'm gonna have to fly out to Australia tonight to
you
get me a nice
will. You'll
green
have to
shirt.
come visit. You have to come visit. I did want to say that I will be back doing, because I missed last week because I wasn't well. I'll be back doing my Friday live, but it'll be 10 a.m. Eastern Daylight Time, and I'm making cheesy broccoli salad.
Ooh, I'm glad you're feeling better, and I
I
can't
am.
wait to see that. Everyone get Sky's, book, menu
Yes.
book. I can't
Well, this
remember
will
what
be
it's
free.
called.
Just come to the live and you'll get the recipe.
Yes, and all her other recipes are amazing.
Yeah.
You always
All
make me
right.
hungry when I see them, so that's a good sign.
Well, maybe you and Dawn will be having a cheesy broccoli salad.
One of these days, I'd keep telling her, watch out, I'm going to go into some recipes and you're not going to know what's happening. Like, where's our salad?
Yeah, you can still have your salad. Just have a little bit of
Yeah,
broccoli on the broccoli, cheesy broccoli on the
I
side.
can't wait to see how you make that.
Yay. Okay, guys, have a good day. Have a good night. We love you.
Thank
And
you,
we'll be back
everyone in
next
the
week.
chat, too. I forgot to say thank you all. Appreciate it. Hi, Carl. Sprinkle of Whimsy. I like that name. And
I
Sherry.
know.
Sorry, I never know how to say it. All right. Thanks again, Sky.
Bye.